Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. With the 2026 benefit season now in full swing, many of you have been asking about the latest updates from the Department for Work and Pensions. Today, we are diving into a crucial update regarding a potential $631 payment that could be landing in your accounts. Whether it's through the newly uprated attendance allowance, now worth up to $114.60 per week, or the expanded eligibility for pension credit, it is more important than ever to ensure you aren't leaving money on the table. In this video, I'm going to break down the exact qualifying criteria for 2026, including the new income thresholds and how these payments integrate with your state pension. Navigating the DWP system can feel overwhelming, but I've done the heavy lifting for you to provide clear, actionable steps. By the end of this update, you'll know exactly where you stand and how to claim what you've rightfully earned. If you find this information helpful and want to stay updated on your entitlements, please give this video a like. It helps us keep our senior community informed and supported. Now, I know when you see a specific number like 631 being mentioned, it's natural to feel a bit skeptical or wonder if there's a catch. But the truth is, this figure represents a very real and significant calculation within the Department for Work and Pensions updated 2026 on 27 payment structure. It isn't just a random bonus, it's actually the 4-week total for those receiving the higher rate of attendance allowance. Following the recent 3.8% uprating, that weekly payment has climbed to $114.60. When you add that to the enhanced disability premiums and the ripples of the 4.8% state pension increase under the triple lock, the financial landscape for UK seniors is shifting in a way that truly demands your attention. It's about more than just one payment. It's about understanding how these different streams of support finally align to provide the security you've earned after a lifetime of hard work. Let's start by looking at the hidden gem of the benefits system: attendance allowance. It's a support payment designed for those over state pension age who need a helping hand with personal care due to a physical or mental disability. One of the most common misconceptions I hear is that you need to have a carer actually living with you or coming into your home to qualify. That simply isn't true. The DWP looks at the need for support, not whether you're currently paying for it. For 2026, the lower rate has moved up to 76 towards 70 per week, while that higher rate we're focusing on today sits at $114.60. If you're struggling with daily tasks, anything from getting dressed to managing your medication, this is money that is legally yours to claim, and it is completely tax-free and non-means tested. That means your savings, your private pension, or the value of your home won't take a single penny away from this entitlement. But here is where the story gets even more interesting, and it's a detail many people overlook. Claiming attendance allowance often acts as a passport to even more support. For instance, if you are successful in your claim, you might suddenly find yourself eligible for a severe disability premium added to other benefits like pension credit or housing benefit. This is where that 631 figure starts to make even more sense as part of your broader monthly budget. Imagine having that extra cushion every 4 weeks to cover the rising costs of heating, specialized transport, or even just the peace of mind that comes with knowing the bills are handled. It's about dignity as much as it is about pounds and pence. Speaking of pension credit, we have seen a massive push this year to get more seniors signed up. The DWP has confirmed that for 2026, the standard minimum guarantee has risen to $238 a week for single pensioners and $363.25 for couples. This is a significant jump intended to keep pace with the cost of living. Yet statistics still show that hundreds of thousands of eligible people aren't claiming it. Many think, oh, I have a small private pension, I won't qualify, but the rules are more flexible than you might think. Even if your income is slightly above the threshold, you could still be eligible if you have disability costs or are a carer yourself. It's always worth that 10-minute phone call to the DWP or a quick check on the government's online calculator. You might be surprised to find you're entitled to a top-up that could change your weekly outlook entirely. I want to pause for a second and talk about the triple lock, because it's been in the news constantly. This year, the 4.8% increase in the state pension has brought the full new state pension to roughly $241.30 per week. For those on the older basic state pension, it's risen to $184.90, While these increases are a welcome relief, the real magic happens when you layer these payments together. If you are receiving the full new state pension plus the higher rate of attendance allowance, your combined monthly income from these two sources alone would be well over $1,400. That is a substantial foundation. However, navigating the application process for these benefits can sometimes feel like trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. The application for attendance allowance, for example, is famous for being quite long. It's often over 30 pages. It's easy to feel discouraged just looking at the envelope. But the trick isn't to list what you can do on your best days. It's to be brutally honest about the challenges you face on your worst days. Think about those moments when your joints are stiff in the morning or when you feel unsteady on your feet. Does it take you longer to do things than it used to? Do you need someone to check in on you? These are the details the DWP needs to hear. They aren't looking for medical jargon, they are looking for a clear picture of your daily life. And remember, if your initial application is turned down, don't take it as a final no. Many successful claims are only granted after a mandatory reconsideration or an appeal. Persistence truly pays off here. As we move further into 2026, there are other small but helpful changes to keep on your radar. The government has frozen prescription charges in England at under $10, which is a small victory for those managing long-term conditions. There's also the Crisis and Resilience Fund, which has replaced the old Household Support Fund. This is managed by local councils and can provide emergency help with food or essential energy bills if you find yourself in a sudden tight spot. It's another layer of the safety net that often goes unmentioned until it's desperately needed. Knowing these options exist is half the battle. I also want to touch on the emotional side of this. I know many of you come from a generation that prides itself on independence. You've worked hard, paid your taxes, and contributed to society for decades. Sometimes there's a feeling that asking for benefits is somehow a sign of weakness or taking from a system that should go to others. I want to gently challenge that perspective. These payments are not handouts. They are a return on the investment you've made into the UK's social contract for 40 or 50 years. They are designed to ensure that as you age, you have the resources to stay healthy, safe, and comfortable in your own home. Using these funds to pay for a taxi to the hospital or to keep the heating on during a cold snap is exactly what the system was built for. So, where do you go from here? The first step is a simple audit of your current income. Grab a pen and paper and look at what's hitting your bank account each month. Compare your totals to the new 2026 thresholds for pension credit. If you have any health conditions that have lasted for at least 6 months, regardless of whether you have a formal diagnosis yet, look into the attendance allowance form. You can call the attendance allowance helpline at 800-731-0122 to request a form. A little known tip: if you call and request the form, your claim will usually be backdated to the date of that phone call as long as you return the paperwork within the 6-week window. That could mean an extra few £100s in your first payment just for making a phone call today. In the coming weeks, I'll be doing a deep dive into the specific wording you should use on these forms to ensure your claim has the best chance of success. We'll talk about how to describe supervision versus care and how to handle the tricky questions about nighttime needs. There is so much more to uncover, and the rules are constantly evolving. Staying informed is your best defense against rising costs. I'm here to make sure you have the facts, the figures, and the confidence to claim every penny you are entitled to. After all, this isn't just about money, it's about making sure your retirement years are as stress-free as possible. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we're going to look at exactly how the new Crisis and Resilience Fund works, and how you can access local support in your specific area. There is a lot to cover, and I'm glad we're doing this together. One of the most frequent questions I get is about the timing of these payments. If you apply for attendance allowance today, you aren't just looking at a future payment. You are often looking at a significant backdated lump sum because the DWP typically pays every 4 weeks. That $631 represents a full payment cycle at the higher rate. If your application takes 8 weeks to process, which is fairly standard these days, your first payment could actually be double that, totaling over $100 and $200. This is why I always emphasize that the best time to start was yesterday, but the second best time is right now. That backdating rule is a powerful tool in your financial arsenal. When you call the helpline to request your form, they note that date on your record. Even if it takes you a few weeks to gather your thoughts and fill out those 30-plus pages, The DWP treats the day you called as the start of your claim. It's like putting a bookmark in a ledger that says, "My entitlement starts here." Now, let's talk about a major shift for 2026 that has many people worried: the transition from the Household Support Fund to the new Crisis and Resilience Fund. For the last few years, the Household Support Fund was a bit of a lifeline distributed by local councils to help with soaring food and energy costs. As of April 1st, 2026, the DWP has officially moved to this new model. The resilience part of the name is key. The government's goal now isn't just to give one-off emergency grants, but to link that financial help with long-term advice. If you apply for help with a utility bill through your local council's new fund, don't be surprised if they also offer a financial health check or help with energy efficiency measures for your home. It's a more holistic approach, and for many seniors, it's a great way to discover other benefits like the Warm Home Discount, which remains a vital $150 rebate for those on low incomes. Speaking of energy, we have to address the winter fuel payment changes for the 2026-27 season. The eligibility criteria have tightened significantly compared to years past. To qualify now, you generally need to be receiving a means-tested benefit like pension credit. This makes that pension credit application we discussed earlier even more critical. It's no longer just about the weekly top-up. It's the key that unlocks the $200 or $300 winter fuel payment. If you're over 80, you're still in line for that higher $300 amount, provided you meet the benefit criteria. It feels like a lot of hurdles to jump over, I know. But think of it this way. The DWP is essentially using pension credit as a filter to ensure support reaches those who need it most. If you are even $1 eligible for pension credit, you are 100% eligible for the full winter fuel payment. That's a very high stakes pound. I often hear from viewers who are worried about the assessment. For attendance allowance, there is rarely a face-to-face medical exam like there is for PIP or universal credit. Most decisions are made purely on the paper evidence you provide. This is why I always tell people to include a diary of a week with their application. Don't just tick the boxes. Tell the story of your Tuesday morning when the damp weather made it impossible to reach for the kettle, or the Friday evening when you felt too exhausted to safely navigate the stairs. If you have a friend, a family member, or a professional carer who sees these struggles, ask them to write a short supporting statement. The DWP call these informal observations, and they carry a surprising amount of weight. They provide the human context that a list of medications simply can't capture. Another area where I see a lot of confusion is the savings credit element of pension credit. This is specifically for those early birds who reached state pension age before April 6, 2016. If you spent your working life putting a bit extra aside into a modest workplace pension, the government actually rewards that thriftiness. For 2026, savings credit can give you up to $17.96 a week if you're single, or $20.10 for couples. It's a way of saying thank you for providing for your own retirement, ensuring you aren't worse off than those who save nothing. Even if you've been told no to pension credit in the past, if your circumstances have changed, perhaps a partner has sadly passed away, or your health has declined, it is absolutely worth a fresh look. The 2026 thresholds are higher than they've ever been, meaning the net has been cast wider. Let's move on to the triple lock and what it really means for your wallet this year. The 4.8% increase we saw in April 2026 wasn't just a number pulled out of a hat. It was driven by the average earnings growth figures from 2025. This has pushed the new state pension up to roughly $12,500 per year. For the first time, this is bringing many seniors very close to the personal tax allowance limit of $12,570. I want to be very clear here. If your only income is the state pension, you likely won't pay a penny in tax. But if you have a small private pension on top, you might notice a few pounds being deducted via payee for the first time. Don't panic. This is simply a result of the pension finally catching up with the tax thresholds. It's actually a sign that the real term value of your pension is holding its ground against inflation, which is exactly what the triple lock was designed to do. I also want to touch on the carer's allowance uprating. If you are a senior who is looking after a spouse or a friend for at least 35 hours a week, you might be eligible for this. For 2026, the rate has risen to £85.70 per week. However, there is a trap called the overlapping benefits rule. Usually, you can't receive the full state pension and the full carer's allowance at the same time. But, and this is a big but, claiming it can still give you an underlying entitlement. This entitlement can trigger an extra carer edition within pension credit worth $48.15 a week. It's these hidden additions that often turn a small pension credit claim into a significant life-changing amount of money. It's all about how these different pieces of the DWP puzzle interlock. As we look toward the rest of 2026, keep an eye on your local cost of living news. While the massive national cost of living payments have ended, many water companies and broadband providers have introduced social tariffs specifically for those on pension credit or attendance allowance. You could save $200 a year on your water bill and cut your internet costs in half just by showing your DWP award letter. These passive savings are just as valuable as the cash payments. They lower your burn rate and make that 631 monthly figure stretch even further. I know this is a lot of information to take in. My advice? Don't try to solve everything tonight. Pick one thing. Tomorrow morning, check if you're on the best social tariff for your broadband. Next week, call for that attendance allowance form. The week after, use the online pension credit calculator. If you take it step by step, the system becomes much less intimidating. You've spent a lifetime looking after others. Now it's time to make sure the system is looking after you. We're in a new era of support in 2026, and while the rules have changed, the opportunities to secure your financial future are still very much there. I'll be here every step of the way to guide you through it. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, you've earned this support, so don't hesitate to claim it.